Hello and welcome one and all to another episode of Dark Library. This time, yet again, going over Kamen Rider Saber for the third episode. uh, anyway, so we're gonna do our simple plot recap and then get on to opinions, like we've done with the previous two. So last time, the episode ended with the confirmed Kamen Rider Espada, Kento Fukuyama showing up in Toma's store. I'm still getting names down 100%. Anyway, so he shows up at Toma's store in this magic carpet, similar to what Rentaro did in episode 2 with his lion, made the end of episode 1 with his lion. And, he's there, and it's learned that he's Toma's childhood friend, and they used to read books and have little book adventures together when they were kids. But, basically, Kento basically says, oh, Toma doesn't have his memories all the way. He doesn't actually remember, and refers to that her from Toma's flashback in episode 1, the intro scene that we saw with the previous Saber. Anyway, that's broken up because a monster shows up, the Golem from episode 1, and they say that the monsters can reappear as long as the Ultra books are finished or at least near completion, which is basically the show's way of saying they can reuse the monster suits, which I'm always in favor of if I like the designs. The Golem has a unique design. I kind of like the grasshopper from the last episode a bit more, so I'd like to see that one again. But if they just need fodder enemies and they just want to use a monster instead of the normal grunts, I would like to just see them reuse suits. Anyway, so they're about to fight the Golem, Megiddo, and then Kamen Rider Buster literally busts in the situation and hits the Golem with his finisher and kills him in a single hit. This is our introduction to Kamen Rider Buster, aka Ryo Ogami, and he's quickly joined by his son, Sora Ogami, as he is the first Kamen Rider to be a father. And I believe we need to stipulate this because everyone's arguing if he's actually the first or not. When I say the first Kamen Rider to be a father, I mean he's a father in the series, unlike a lot of others who become fathers after the series. For example, Drive's main rider becomes a dad after the series is over. Him and the Kamen Rider girl for that season, Kiriko, get married and have a kid. He's the first one to be a father during the series, not be evil like so many others. Because Toei loves the evil father thing because it shows up a lot in Super Sentai and Kamen Rider. Again, Drive, but Gold Drive, Kamen Rider, Kronos, and X-Aid. And being a father is a big thing about his character because he introduces himself as the king of parenting. He's this loud, very boisterous personality. Very fitting for Buster, the name Buster. It's, in terms of the Buster sword, which is where he gets his name from, because he uses a giant sword, which at least in the toy comparisons is the same size as It's the same size as the Gaim DJ gun, which is interesting to say. I mean, it's not like a huge toy, but it's a big ass sword in the show. So big ass Buster sword. Anyway, so Buster's here, and they go to Toma's bookstore, and basically he's there to size up Toma a bit. And then him, Rentaro, and that was my iPad, notifications, ignore that. Anyway, him, Rentaro, and everyone else, they go off. Him, Rentaro, and Kento have a little meeting with the Source of Logos and their HQ, while Toma is babysitting Sora alongside May. Well, he's not really babysitting Sora. He's basically, because he was inspired by Ryo, to write a story about a swordsman who's a father. And May, being his editor, is really encouraging that. So she's babysitting Sora while Toma's writing and the Source of Logos are having their meeting. And Sora doesn't want to go to the Source of Logos headquarters because he doesn't like books. He says the books are boring. And Toma promises him that, they'll find fun book, that, he can have fun in books and they'll find a fun book to read together. Basically, it gets funny because the monster for the week, the Megiddo for the week, I don't know what it's called. I think it's a snake Megiddo. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, the snake Megiddo. He basically has a different plan than the previous plan, which was just take a section of the city and transport it to the other world and mess it up there. His plan is to take a section of a forest to use that basically as like a trap and get people to pick up smaller ultra books that when they open them will trap them in this forest, this little section of forest he's made, which is as a trap, in order to birth his king, which we'll be getting into a bit later. about speculation stuff. So uh, anyway, Sora actually picks up one of these little altar books, which is funny because he's wondering, can books really be that interesting? Remembering Toma's words, which that was kind of bad timing on that front. Anyway, he picks up the book, opens it, and gets sucked into the mystical forest. May was away getting the pair of ice cream, and she feels really bad about it because she knows it's her fault that Sora got taken, even though Toma's bearing responsibility for it. I mean, again, I like May. I can see a lot of people not liking her and probably blaming her for this, but she's accepting, at least, she's personally accepting responsibility that she lost Sora. So, again, I like May. Anyway, the guys go into, not Kento. He's staying out of this fight right now for some reason. But anyway, Toma, Rentaro, and obviously Rio go into the forest to try to save Sora, and they encounter the snake monster. At first, I don't know where he goes to, but Rio is away from the pair because Toma and Rentaro are fighting a snake monster at first. And at first they can't really do anything because, his body's too slippery and their swords are going off of it. So they come up with the plan of using Peter Fantasia, the book they got at the end of last episode. Toma tries using it at first, but he doesn't really know how to use it well. So Rentaro takes the book and uses it expertly, saying, "No, this is what happens when you use a book you're compatible with," or something like that. And so, Toma goes back to using the Jack and the Beanstalk book that he got last episode, and they're doing good against the monster. And then Rio shows up, gives a little speech, transforms because he transforms on screen, and kills the monster with his finisher. That almost got Toma and Rentaro caught up in it as well. But interestingly enough, the altar book is still remaining after the monster's been destroyed. This isn't the case like last episode where there were actually two monsters and they just only saw one and basically a part of the city remained. Now this is a case of they don't really know what's going on. They thought they killed the monster, but it's still around, and I'm assuming this has something to do because the monster keeps mentioning the birth of its king. So I'm assuming this has something to do with the whole birth of a king situation. And next episode we're gonna get into that and saving Sora basically. So first off about this episode, I really like Kamen Rider Buster. Like the Buster suit is really cool. It's different enough from the other suits because he uses a completely different driver than the other three riders. So he's kind of like a tertiary rider, but he shows up before the main third rider of the series, which is kind of weird, but at the same time kind of cool. And we're already getting into different drivers, and I'm having fucking 01 flashbacks with how many drivers that show ended up with by the end of the series. At least this one still keeps the tradition of the drivers being a sword, because his driver is basically also a sword with the giant Buster sword. The other thing is, I've noticed there's only one slot on the driver, and there is at least one screenshot of him using the Peter Pan book, Peter Fantasia book, for the hook. So I'm wondering, where does he put the second book he uses? I mean, there's like a little spot. He has like a little belt on him. So I'm wondering, does he put the book on the belt, or does he take his book out? Because he takes his book out for his finisher, but does he take his own book out for swapping books to use the Peter Fantasia book? I'm just wondering how the driver works, basically. Anyway, I like his character. He's a stern warrior, but has a soft spot for his kid. He calls himself the king of parenting because he thinks he's being a really good father. His kid seems to really love him because as soon as the fight's over, he's always going, "Father," running to his side and just being perched up on his shoulder because he's a massive dude and the kid's really small. Sora, he's fine. Like, we don't really get a lot of him this episode because he's basically just a side character right now. Like, he might get a bit more later on. But he's a fine child actor. Child actors, they can go either way, especially in these franchises. They can go either way, swing both, be terrible or good. In this case, he's pretty good, at least what he's given. He's not on screen enough for us to really sink him in as a character. We just know that he's Rio's son, or Buster's son, and he loves his dad. And his dad obviously loves him, which is just a cool dynamic. Again, it's really cool to see a good father who's actually a father while being a Kamen Rider instead of being done after the show. And I'm surprised it took us 31 seasons to get to that point. Interesting enough, Rio's whole reason for coming was so that he could size up Toma, basically, because the source of logos were basically trying to figure out about Toma. and about Toma's lost memories, because Kento knows, basically they all know now, that Toma has lost memories from 15 years ago because he had the Brave Dragon book. Kento, being a childhood friend, obviously knows what happened, but he also says that Toma's probably better off not remembering what happened, which begs the question what actually happened. We do know it involves the mystery girl who we still don't know who she is or where she is or if she's dead or not. She apparently isn't Luna, because I know a lot of people were thinking she was Luna, the mystery leader of the Source of Logos in a way, and she's not. So we don't know. Oh, not Luna. Her name's Sophia. I'm sorry. I don't know who Luna is. Anyway, we don't know who this chick is or what her overall deal is. We really don't know a lot about Sophia. It'd be cool if Sophia was actually a Kamen Rider. Oh, so actually, it turns out the little girl who was, Toma's friend back in the past, her name was Luna. So I was saying the little girl's name and not Sophia's name. But I'm saying it would be cool if Sophia actually turned out to be another Kamen Rider. Like, considering the fact that we do have so far 6 writers confirmed for the series, at least early on, and we're gonna get after the crossover movie with 01, probably at the it's probably gonna get delayed to like sometime next year. We're probably going to get we're gonna get a 4th writer to join up with the main team. It might be an antagonist at first, because Kamen Rider tradition, and we might get some more other writers in Q3, maybe Q2. Kienzan is, I think he's a Q2 writer. I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, so for Q3, Q4, we're definitely going to get more writers showing up. That always happens in Kamen Rider, especially nowadays, considering the fact that most seasons end with the writer being a main villain. And Caliber is our very, very, Caliber, it has been a while since we've had a villain, stay the main villain throughout the course of the entire series. I honestly don't think we've had one since maybe Forze. I mean, even Forze is stretching it. No, wait, Wizard also had the main villain stay the same throughout the whole series. But they were very background. But, Caliber's very background right now. He may, or she, because, the whole voice modulator, Caliber could very well be a woman, may step up as the main villain or get destroyed partway into Q2, and then it's just gone the rest of the series. Or comes back as somewhat as a Kamen Rider Gim scenario, although I doubt that there will be a good guy. Although it will be funny. Anyway, enough speculation. Let's talk about speculation. So Sophia mentions offhandedly to Kento, because Kento, before he goes off, I'm assuming he joins the group later on, because apparently he's in the episode preview pictures for episode 4. That he's going to join up with them and helping with the book scenario, in which case we'll get the debut of Kamen Rider Espada. But she mentions to him, or at least because he's speculating on whether he should tell Toma his memories or not, and she's like, "Well, it's not your fault," because he blames himself for what happened to Toma and Luna. She's like, "It's not your fault. Kamen Rider Caliber is your," and then we cut the Caliber because we don't know mystery. So Caliber is either father, brother. I doubt it'll be uncle, maybe sister. If our childhood friend, it might also be the Luna girl. We don't know yet. But Caliber will definitely be a character that we either know or will know soon, because the whole voice modulator thing. They always do this. The character with the voice modulator is either a character that we know currently or a character that we know of later. Remember Evolt? Before all that stuff happened with Evolt, or Rogue also. Did Rogue have a voice modulator when he first showed up? I forget. But yeah, basically every character with a voice modulator is either a character that we know of currently or that we will know, and so it'll be a giant twist when they actually, get revealed as the villain. Sort of like with Gim, although they revealed that early on. It was basically just waiting for the characters to know that Gim was the villain, at least for that section of the story. Things I'm really liking so far. Real quick though, I had to mention this because I was questioning last episode how they know what book goes in what slot. So as it turns out, the books are cordoned off into three categories: legendary, beast, animal, and story. Legendary beast, typically like mystical animals like dragons, for example, because Saber is a dragon, he's a mystical beast rider for the season. Also, Buster's a mystical beast, he doesn't use the same driver as the other ones. Like Animal, so Lion, which is Blades, and then Story, which is Espada, because he's the Arabian Nights, basically. So those are the three types of Wonder Ride books. You see this very clearly in the 0-1 line of Wonder Ride books for the legacy stuff. We have Mystical Jinrai, Legendary Beast. I don't know why they're Legendary Beasts, but they are. Ames or Vulcan is the Animal, and Aruto or Hidan are the Story. So that would be interesting if the rest of the Legend stuff for the season or this toy line is also cordoned off into 3 sections. We have the main rider, secondary rider, and then probably the main antagonist for series that don't have more than 2 riders. Just interesting to see which one falls into which. I mean, it's very loose with Mystical Jinrai being considered a legendary animal. But anyway, overall, I honestly do like this episode. Again, Ryo Ogami, aka Kamen Rider Buster, has a really good introduction. I like his character so far. He's a very stern warrior, but he's a somewhat gentle father. At least, he loves his son very, very much. But, he takes the whole warrior thing very seriously. He considers Toma a bit of a weirdo for being a novelist, which I don't exactly get, but, maybe it's just his warrior side. But no, this is honestly a very simple episode in all things. It sets up stuff obviously for the next episode, which, every episode in the series so far has just been setting up for the next episode in the end and whatnot. But that's what you do. I do like where this is going so far. I know a lot of people are still swaying on the fences about Sabers right now. Like, so far, I'm enjoying it. I like Toma. I like Rentaro. I like the suits. The drivers, a little bit yay, a little bit nay. I do like the fact that we're getting more interchangeable suits now, sort of like what we used to have with O's. Because the suits are sectioned off in the 3 pieces. Like, really, O's is probably the best comparison, considering the suits were sectioned off into 3 pieces, while O's was diagonal. These are sideways. And the suits have the different parts, and we can clearly see that they're not that the writers are going to have their at least these Q1 books be interchangeable with each other in a way, because at least outside of their main book. Because, we have Blades using the Peter Fantasia. I mean, not Peter Fantasia. Oh, wait, it was Peter Fantasia. I'm blanking. Yeah, so we have Blades using Peter Fantasia. And, again, and at least in scans, we see Buster using Peter Fantasia. And apparently Espada will use the Hedgehog book that Toma will get next episode. So, again, it's good to see them switch up books and whatnot. I love it when they do that for series, because it leads to a lot more interesting suit combos and fights and whatnot, and abilities. So, I'm liking that aspect. I'm liking the characters. They're simple, really simple right now, but, they might get developed a bit more later, like, especially because we still don't know about Toma's mysterious past that he lost his memories of, so we'll get an explanation for that later. But, overall, simple episode, lots of setup for future stuff with Caliber and Kento, and, the whole monster thing. I'm really looking forward to the next episode. We'll get the first use of 3 books at once. At least in the episode preview, we got that. Maybe Espada will show up, and, Buster will probably be won over by Toma in the end of next episode, because Toma will probably save Sora. So, a lot to look forward to. Again, this episode was fun, but simple. Hopefully, I can say that about a few more episodes. Anyway, until next time, everybody. See you then.